And we are going free with a Roland going free outdoors. And if you can hear me okay, please let me know, folks. We were having a little bit of feedback while playing the music at the last moment there. So I just want to know if everything is all right. Oh, I know probably why we had feedback. We shouldn't have, but it was because of that. So I figured it out already. Military mode. Hurry up, Köhne. Need to get grilling already. All right. A big Promethean hails to everyone who is with us today on this Memorial Day. It's great to be with all of you. Outdoors, the weather could not be more magnificent today. I can tell you, I'm looking out across the way, and of course I have a gnat in my face because we're outdoors, and that's what happens. Why don't you just go ahead and fly in my eyeball already and get it over with, commit suicide. I can see it's just beautiful here in the once great state of Northern Virginia today. A very lucky day in that the temperature is about 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and there is a slight breeze. It's only like maybe 55% humidity, very unusual, and we are deeply appreciating it. So very glad you all could be with us today. I figured today on this Memorial Day, a happy Memorial Day to everyone, by the way, both in the United States and around the world, of course. We all should be remembering all of our loved ones and friends who have passed, been lost in conflict, who have answered that call to... What was that noise? To answer that... Oh, I know what that was. To answer the call when our people, even when these are brothers' wars, are in danger. So we honor and respect that on the deepest level, that our people have this intrinsic desire to serve this objective thing that is beyond us. And therefore, it's the thing, really, that we talk about and we have talked about before in our men, that is one of the big differentiators between our men and women, and perhaps men and women of all different biospirits. I'm going to sit up a little higher in this chair, leaning back quite a little bit. There we go. I hope I don't fall into the table. We'll see what happens. But can you hear me okay? And yes, there is a birdhouse, so we could have, who knows? There are Carolina wrens that live in that birdhouse, so they could come out any moment, and who knows what could happen? Maybe land on my shoulder. That'd be great. But no, this is this drive for glory that we feel as men of the West, and it's one of the main. It is the main reason that we end up heading out into harm's way and sacrificing ourselves, sacrificing our lives, and a lot of other things. Not just our lives as in dying. We remember, of course, all of those who have died, but all of those who have come back with psychological and physical damage that is irreparable. So let me just make an adjustment over here so that I can keep an eye on what you all are saying. And I see Brad C is here, Mrs. Jess Horst as well. Of course, HB, Roy Danton, Promethean Healing. Wonderful to see you all with me. The magnificent Kevin is here as well. Looks like the great imminent rain. And Carlisle, the sweet Carlisle Cockatoo is with us. Hello, dear lady. And so is another dear lady. Althea is with us. Hello. Cipriana is with us. And who else do we have? It's good to have. Oh, Intellectual Embargo. Great to see you, brother. Wonderful to have you here with us. White Rider as well. Dig the outside setting. I'm outside as well, playing the stream from my Bluetooth speaker. Well, everybody will be able to participate then. Tall Kevin is here. Great to see you, brother. I guess we'll give another moment for folks to maybe figure out that we are live and outside. Tried to make this as comfortable as possible. This is going to be the last day until autumn in the once great state of Virginia that we are going to be able to be outside. The rest of the week and next week is in the 80s and 90s here Fahrenheit. So it's going to be brutal, and the humidity will be, very nearly as high as it can possibly go. And it would be quite the spectacle. Nobody would want to see that, me melting out here. But I don't know if you can hear the bird song. There are birds singing all around me. It's glorious. The sky is blue. There's a couple puffy white clouds. As I said, 75 Fahrenheit, and this slight breeze blowing through here. And I've got coffee, and I've got water, and and my friends, all of my friends here are with me. Beautiful scenery. I see irises in the distance. What are those way over there? I'm not sure what those are, but they're pink and they look pretty. There's a green giant, and there are a couple holly trees and cryptomeria, and don't know if you can hear the... John is here. Great to see you. So is Corey. I don't know if you can hear the cicada, but this is the 17-year cicada that come out here every 17 years. They're a little smaller than the ones that come out every year, and so this swarm is prodigious, and the sound is just echoing across the landscape. And depending on where you are here in Northern Virginia, they might be heavier, and you just walk outside and they will land on you. These little, and they got buggy red eyes. So I think we have maybe another week or so of this, and then it will finally be over, and they will be gone for another 17 years. I see the great Biospirit of the West is with us. Great to see you, brother. Folks, let's get another round of applause for Biospirit of the West. Just last night, we went through the mailbag, and Biospirit of the West had financially gifted White Wellbeing, financially gifting $1,000. So thank you so much, dear friend and brother, and thank you for being here. And yeah, keep an eye open. Maybe you'll see the Carolina wren will come and go from this birdhouse behind me. They don't seem to mind me sitting out here right now. Apollo is here. Happy Memorial Day to you and everyone. Popcorn, the power is here. So we've got, we have a whole group who are, or that are, I guess I should say, ignored when it comes to Memorial Day. We rarely hear anybody talk about this particular group. And we rightly, of course, remember our brothers and sisters who have fallen in conflict, much of it, of course, needless. And we always aver no more brothers wars. We're never going to allow that to happen again. And we're going to do everything we can to make that the most shameful and immoral thing that Western kind can do, is to fight wars against each other, except in those cases where white people are anti-white. And then they are not our brothers and sisters, regrettably, in those cases. We save as many as we can. And if they choose to be anti-white, there's nothing we can do. We just accept that decision. So, having said that, infinitely, Bell, was that what it was? White calling as well. Great to see you. Promethean Promulgation is here with us. So I'm feeling great outside today. I feel I wish we could do so many more streams. Like Comedies is with us. Elaine Sabatino's birthday. Well, happy birthday to you, Elaine. That's wonderful and great to see you. Happy birthday. I'm glad this is your birthday. I know there's another person who's having a birthday today, so happy birthday to that person as well. A name to be unmentioned, I believe. But happy birthday to you as well. I hope you're having a glorious day. Southern Bloom has joined us. Well, the crowd is showing up. We're having, I can't see how many, I don't have many monitors here. I feel handicapped. Maybe I'm just normally handicapped, and that's the problem. But that's fine. All right. So there's a whole group that we rarely talk about on Memorial Day, and that group is man's best friend. And it's a real shame because for so many reasons, I mean, man's best friend, as the canine, our dogs have been with us through thick and thin, and especially the Westman. We have always had a very special bond with all wildlife, with all animals, but particularly our dogs, and they have worked with us. They have protected us. They have protected our livestock. They have served us in many capacities. They've been our friends. They've been our family members, and we cherish them for that. And they have also gone to war with us. And even in those very desperate times, they've stayed right by our side, very often even sacrificing their lives for us. We see them in law enforcement, doing the same thing, sacrificing their lives to protect the rest of society, all of us. And we deeply appreciate that. They're on the front line in the what they would call the war against drugs. They are on the front lines in the war against actual terrorism, smelling out the drugs and the bombs and bomb-making material and things of this nature. They've been used to track down predators and escapees from prisons, or people who have committed a crime and have headed out into the country. Everybody is very familiar with the imagery of the great bloodhound, whose sense of smell is superior to all other canines, as far as I understand, and that's why they're used for that purpose. Couple facts, I guess, about them is that I think and somebody could look up. I've seen different numbers given, but suffice it to say that a dog's sense of smell is many thousands of times stronger than ours, and a bloodhound's sense of smell is, I think, maybe several thousand times greater than the average dog. They also, their ears, their floppy ears, help to waft the smell up off of the ground as they trace as they track whatever it is, person or fox or whatever it may be. And we have, when I lived out in the plains, it was the American foxhound that, of course, was used here in the United States and still used for fox hunting. And by the way, they don't always kill the fox. I spoke with, I know this from back in the day when I lived in the plains, but also I spoke with a gentleman recently who participates in fox hunting, and he says rarely does the fox get killed anymore. They tree the fox or hole the fox, and then they have some meat, and they throw at the dogs, and the dogs get the satisfaction that they've made their kill, and then they all head back, and I guess they get drunk. I don't know exactly what they do. They have some sort of fun there. But we have all had pets, dogs in particular, that we're talking about today, that have been our best friends, our family members, and their passing is just as tough as the passing of any of the rest of our family. In fact, sometimes tougher, because some of those family members we didn't like very much when they went. But we have, and is the sound okay? Let me check. It seems like the sound's okay today. And can you all hear the cicadas? There's this din behind me, and it is this cacophony that is omnipresent of these things. It would be fabulous if one flew up, maybe landed right on the bill of this hat here, and right during the stream. Maybe we would finally get something that would go supernova then, if that happened. Or maybe if I were attacked by cicadas, or they would just swarm in on me, and I would have to run from the camera. That would probably go viral. Sound is good. Everybody's saying sound is good. Okay, great. Thank you for the feedback. Bartleby, Popcorn, Power, and let's see, Biospirit of the West for the feedback on the number of people that were watching. I appreciate that, that we're having some more folks roll in. If you have anybody that you are interested in, maybe introducing them to No White Guilt, this would be the live stream. Hey, Mom, come on in and watch this No White Guilt guy that you're very concerned about. What might he be up to? Well, he's having a very patriotic stream today, and we are remembering man's best friend and his service in our conflicts. We have three particular stories that we're going to look at today. I see Little Red has shown up, and so has Chet. Welcome to the both of you. And Andrew, great to see you. Just short stories about three different dogs who served the United States military in WW1, 2, and in Vietnam. And if you all have any stories that you would like to share, it doesn't have to be from warfare. It doesn't have to be. Odin Sire is here. Great to see you. Yes, the cicadas are out. You can hear them. They're everywhere. But a good cicada attack would ensure that this would go viral. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. No white guilt, attacked by cicada swarm while streaming outdoors. Mr. Norse and Tommy, great to see you both, and welcome to you. Not as easy to lean on my elbow in this chair, this campfire camping chair that I have here, very gingerly moving around so that I don't knock the whole laptop and everything. No more cicada wars. Yeah, I agree. Popcorn Power says, I hear the birds. Well, that's wonderful. Yeah, we do have bird song out here. And there goes. I guess we are, I don't know what it would be, since we are in that liminal point really between spring and coming up on the summer. I guess it's a spring azure, which is a beautiful little bluish looking butterfly. Maybe a light blue, powder blue. And I wouldn't be surprised. There we go. I was just going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if I don't see a cabbage white. And there's a cabbage white, a butterfly that is very common in Northern Virginia. So we may get really lucky. Who knows? Maybe something will fly up behind me. And that would be splendid. Perhaps in the future, maybe this coming autumn, I'll try to stream close to the bird feeders. And when I'm sitting around over there, even when I'm just out there filling the feeders up, the birds, they don't know that. I mean, they'll fly right in, and it's funny because they zip in without a care in the world to get what they want to eat, and then they see me there, and it's like they scream and head for the hills, and then they chirp at me, "Leave so we can eat, dummy! Just put the food out and let us eat." Promethean Healing is here. TJ is here. Bros and bros, this is fantastic. Wonderful to see you all. Remember, we're talking about our best friends, and of course, if you've read Born Guilty, my best friend of all time was my Doberman, and she was a magnificent animal, passed many years ago now, and still, I don't go a week without thinking about her at least once. She was such a wonderful friend and companion, and she did actually serve her role and protect me one night, and perhaps I will share that story with you all. I've told it before, I believe, on the stream, but I think it's been a while. So please, what were maybe get from you all, what you've all owned, I'm sure, several different breeds of dog. What was your favorite? No hammering down on somebody else's favorite dog. You know, as long as you didn't have, I'm kidding. So I can hear the swarm setting. The swarm of cicadas is getting louder. I don't see any cicada husks on the trees here. Oh, there are a couple over there. It's a lovely tree. It's not a linden, but I'm not exactly sure what. It's like a linden. It's Ramos, but it's like a linden. I don't know what it is. Those trees are not all that great. They grow really fast. Builders normally put them in little leaf linden, and they grow really quickly, and they create this big sail essentially with all of those branches. The wind comes in once they get semi-mature, and then they just blow right over, crush your car or whatever it might be. So the phone is going off for some reason. I don't know what that's about, but all right. Yes, of course, my beautiful Ripley, who I will forever. I've thought about being buried or having her ashes buried with me. And I don't know, I might go through with that. That's how close the bond can get. I used to drive in my piece of junk. I guess almost all of them have been junk until the recent one, which is getting there from age. And she would sit in the back seat, but she had to be clean. You see, some people allow their space to get like wrecked. They got a dog and they're like, well, I got a dog. That means that everything can be filthy. I don't feel that way. The dog had to be, she had to be clean, and she knew it. So she would sit in the back seat, and as I was driving, she would put her chin right on my shoulder as I drove. It was just, what a great pet she was. She was great. And yeah, she did actually attempt to defend me. She actually performed her job. She was a German line Doberman, and the only difference is that between the American and the German line, that I understand, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, the German line, when they are measured for whether or not they are hitting their standard, they are more muscular. So in the American version, a little sleeker. Both, I think, are magnificent animals, beautiful beasts. But she was a German line, so she was about 90 pounds and very strong and very loving, but also capable of being a Doberman pinscher. I mean, there was no doubt about it. So we have, dogs are friends, not food. Well, that's I think an easy one that we can all agree to here in the West. Dogs are friends, not food. In fact, very often people feed their dogs horribly. They feed them human food. Don't do that. Don't give them, I know you love them, and I know I just want to give them just a little bit of the cake, or I just want to give them a little bit of this or that. Don't do it. You want them to be healthy, right? You love them. So keep them healthy, feed them only what they should be eating, and they will live a long, healthy life, and you will be able to enjoy their company for a great many years. My family only had one pet, a black lab. Well, that's cute. Bellaprix, that's cute. It's a great breed, and they're very popular. What else did you all have? I also had, before, when I was much younger, when I lived with my parents, I had a Rottweiler, and she was my dog. She was marvelous as well. Her markings were perfect. Really just a beautiful example of the breed. Brad C says, what tree species is the one with the birdhouse? The bark looks like red cherry, a species we have where I live. Well, that's a good question, Brad. You know what? It might be. I'm not sure, but it might be. Oh, no. You know what? No, that is oh my gosh, the name. What is the name of that tree? Starts with a P, I think. Oh, I almost just had it. It'll come back to me. Thanks for asking, though. Black cherry, yeah. No, it's not black cherry. No, but I'm looking directly at the ash tree, which is a glorious tree all the way across, I don't know, about 30, no, not that far, 25 yards from me. And they are being infected by some sort of like beetle or something. So you have to have them treated to protect them. It's some invasive species from, I think, Asia that is killing them all of these wonderful trees off. So you have to have them treated or they do die. And I don't think that one ended up getting infected. So, and then we have some, of course, Virginia pines in Virginia. What is the name of this tree now? There's another one right over there. It produces it produces a fruit. Almost just had it again. It'll come back to me. Althea says, my puppy Coda turned 15 years old today. Can you give her a happy birthday bark out? A big bark out to your Puggle. Oh, it's Puggle, not puppy. Puggle. Well, how about that? Happy birthday to 15 years old. Wow, that is a long life. I bet that dog has been a great friend and companion over the years. That's really wonderful. How special. Congratulations. It's wonderful to have a friend that long. Happy birthday, says Little Rib. Well, why don't we do this? I'm going to go ahead and read one of the stories, and we'll just keep chatting. We're not going to be here for a long time. I mean, it took a long time to set up everything out here, but I'm really fortunate because there are some very patriotic people who live very close, and they were blasting some proud to be an American, and they have, I don't know, maybe like 30 family members. It's a wonderful group. They are wonderful people, pristine, and they were going on runs with flags waving, and it was something else. But the music, of course, would have interfered with what we are trying to do here. And the first one we're going to talk about is as I hope to remember this tree that is behind me. Persimmon. I just remembered. It's a persimmon tree, Brad. Persimmon tree. And can be problematic. The squirrels and the grackles like the persimmon once they start going bad, once they start going off, which is good because they'll eat some of it. But otherwise, they make a mess for flies, and you can make pies out of it. But of course, I can't make anything. Well, I just don't. I mean, I guess I can, but I don't. So, Cornelius, is that our one and only dear brother, Cornelius? Great to see you, brother. Your other name, I was just never remembering it. I'm gonna have to put it up on the wall, and so when I see, I'll be able to remember your new cloak of invisibility. Zach says, Jason Köhne, dude, you serve in the Army or Marines, sir. I was in the military. I'm not going to say exactly what branch, but make it a little hard for the anti-whites. Not going to send them right off to doing their job for them. But I will do this. We will talk about Sergeant Stubby. Have you heard about Sergeant Stubby before? He's pictured on the thumbnail. He's in the top left. Sergeant Stubby, a mixed breed dog with a stubby tail, probably a bull terrier, started out as a stray who hung around a group of soldiers while they were training in New Haven, Connecticut. He eventually became the most famous canine hero of WW1. He served in 17 battles in France alongside his best friend, Private J. Robert Conroy, and the 102nd Infantry, 26th Yankee Division. The fearless pup performed a number of vital roles, including alerting troops to incoming gas attacks, catching German spies, locating missing soldiers in between the trenches, and boosting morale. At the war's end, the brave dog received a medal from General John J. Pershing, commander of the American forces in Europe, who saluted the dog's, quote, heroism of highest caliber, close quote, and, quote, bravery under fire. The famous hero dog led parades, met 3 presidents, and became the mascot of Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. Stubby's tough facade belied an inner strength and loyalty that are worthy of celebration. Well, isn't that a wonderful story? So this Sergeant Stubby, 17 battles that dog was with his best friend and the 102nd Infantry. Now that's something we should absolutely remember. He survived the war unscathed. Fortunately, he was on. How could you imagine this? Or at least as far as we know, as far as what I've had to read about him. I read this and another piece about him, and this was the one that was I thought was best written. Didn't say anything about. It is a lovely story. Well said, Roy. Didn't say anything about the lovely pup being injured, but he's a cute little guy, as you can see. He's got a little vest on him with medals on it, and only white people. Only white people. We love it, don't we? We'll give a salute to Sergeant Stubby for his service. And again, we always remember when we talk about and we celebrate our deeds, that we celebrate our brothers and sisters on all sides of those brothers' conflicts. Every single one of them are heroes. They answered a call. Some of them were misled. Some of them thought they were really doing the right thing. Some of them were ignorant of what was going on. But we're going to make sure in the future that when our brothers and sisters are called to go to war against each other, and they're not anti-whites on one side, that they absolutely refuse, that they put down their arms and they walk away from the battlefield. And in fact, we saw in many conflicts, and these are really tear-inducing stories, where our brothers in the midst of combat would come together. They would put their arms down and come together. In some cases, they played soccer. In some cases, they traded medals and hats and things of this, accoutrements of their uniforms. They knew deep down the biospirit spoke to every single one of them in those moments, because they knew that they were at the limb of life and death. And that was the moments when the biospirit was trying to bring them together to put an end to those conflicts, to put an end to that bloodshed. Because it knew the biospirit in the men on one side and the biospirits on the men inside the men on the other, they knew that they were one and the same. And so it yearned for that peace and that brotherhood. And that's why we now are going to use our conscious minds to put an end to the harm that is done to our people by way of brothers' wars, which are only possible with old school nationalism, which is why we have to stamp old school nationalism out of existence. This idea, I know it sounds compelling, that you are going to, we're going to revert to this. It's our, it's our country, and we're nationalists. This is what they say, and we support the other nationalists, and we want them to do well in their countries, but we're doing what we can for, and then fill in the blank for the country. When you think that way, you end up in the exact same situation that the anti-whites had us in before and brought us to this level today of being utterly subjugated and on a rapid track toward white erasure. And I think that's a Dodge Viper going by. I don't know if you can hear that, but a very powerful automobile if you have never driven one before. But I see the great Heidi is here, and the magnificent Kevin. I drove a Dodge Viper. The friend of my father's came over. The Watcher is here. Great to see you. I guess this will be a day of a bit of stories, and we'll hear from you. Another Angry Hobo Channel is with us. He came over, and he had his Viper. It was, I don't know, it was one of the earlier versions of it, the second or third, and it was an absolute beast. And this guy was he built drag cars, so he knew what he was doing. I mean, he was no joke. And so he actually had, and when I tell this story to other people, I always forget to mention, I'm glad I'm remembering for you all today. It's so wonderful out here. God, I wish you could be sitting here with me. There couldn't be a better moment to be together and outside. But he actually had he had set up a faux panel in the trunk so that the trunk looked like the normal trunk of the Dodge Viper, but there was this like hidden trap handle, and you could pull that open, and there were nitrous tanks in the back, so that when he wanted to be crazier than all of the hundreds and hundreds of horsepower that a Dodge Viper normally has, he had a hidden button on the dash where he could click this. It would shoot right into the engine, and the thing would be a veritable missile. But of course, it all had to be hidden. You're wondering, maybe, why does it have to be hidden? Why did he? Because it's illegal. Because it's very illegal. But he brought it over, and I couldn't believe it. It was quite a beautiful machine. And he said, "Well, you want to drive it?" And of course, it's like, "Are you kidding me?" Yes. So we hopped in the thing and we took off. And I found it difficult to drive because you're sitting really low to the ground and tilted back like a astronaut maybe, and on top of being tilted backward, the hood bubbles up, so it just makes, you're wondering, where is the front of this thing end? But what was really funny was, I was having a little fun, nothing bad. He actually put his hand on the emergency brake as though it would make any difference in the world. He could pull that brake from where he was all the way to the trunk of that car, and it would not stop all those horses from turning those wheels. But it was funny. Maybe he was trying to just send me a signal. Take it easy in my, what was it, $100,000 vehicle? So obviously my poor donkey, I guess I could say poor ass here, didn't have, couldn't even really afford to look at it. But Spirit Wolf is here. Great to see you. So dogs, let's see. Hail the doggos for their service. Yes, indeed. Great. I see people putting the dog emojis up. Yeah, let's celebrate them. That's Sergeant Stubby. What a cute little dog that was. And he was out there with our boys, with our men in the midst of conflict. And, I'm sure on the other side that our boys, our men on the German side had dogs as well that were serving them admirably. And they should also be commended. Regrettably, I don't know who those dogs are. Regrettably, when I searched online, I could not believe how just a dearth, an absolute, I'll just say dearth. I could say paucity, but it's more of a dearth of information on these animals and their service. It's ridiculous. I know for sure that if we were in charge of our destiny, if we ran the internet, there would not be a dearth of stories on the internet about these heroes and the heroes for families. I mean, how many of you have heard these stories about dogs who, the house catches fire and the dog goes and wakes everybody up and gets everybody out of the house, or the stories where the dog, the house is on fire, everybody gets out, but then some child is left in there and the dog runs through the fire and then drags the child out. I mean, it happens again and again. Dogs that you would not think that would be ferocious or vicious or able to be violent. A criminal comes in and the dog immediately never showed a hostile bone, pun intended, in its life. And yet suddenly the dog launches at the criminal. Now, of course, there are some dogs that would probably just beg for food. Now, we're not going to necessarily laud that behavior, but yeah, we have seen some real heroism, sometimes more heroism out of, maybe more often. Well, here comes a cabbage white. Maybe it'll fly right over. That would be fantastic. Come on, come over here. And maybe more braver than some of our people. Regrettably, a lot of our people today, because so many are just cowards. So many of our males never become men. It's a real shame. Driving a big truck, having a 12-point buck taxidermied on the wall, or owning a tricked out badass firearm does not make you a man. having done something manly in your past does not make you a man. Lifting the most weight at the gym. These people, I cannot stand it at the gym. It's good workouts. I mean, people get good workouts from these sorts of things, but this, like the rope thing that the people are good. I mean, it's good. You're burning calories, but you're not. You're not becoming a man by doing that. These flipping the tires over and over and over across the gymnasium. That's not making you a man. A man is something you have to do every day. It's a choice you have to make every day about striving for glory, doing the right thing as often as you can, admitting when you're wrong, endeavoring to be a champion of our people. And the primary, as I said, as they're hollering, having a party over there, probably hearing what I'm saying, striving for glory. And when you are wrong, you admit it and you go back and you try to correct and do right the next time, but always making a decision. You have to, in many ways, to bring it back to the theme of this roll-in, you have to be kind of more like our dogs, most of our dogs, not all of them. But you'll see the kind of dog, the breed of dog, really does not necessarily signal or define the capabilities or the courage of the dog. Often it does. I mean, obviously, if you want to have a dog that you know is going to be courageous in a situation where the dog needs to be courageous, you're going to want to have a Doberman, a Rottweiler, Southern White, or what are they? The Georgia White. What else are they called? The Mastiffs. They're kind of lazy, but obviously, we're going to move on to the next one, which is a super. This dog is as cute as they come. So to imagine this dog in a combat scenario, donning armor is here. Great to see you, brother. He says, I use motor oil for deodorant. Pure man, alpha. There you go. The truth is, I was working on one of our pieces of junk when I was a child with my father, and we had it up on jack stands in the driveway. We had to crawl under, and actually, did we have? Was he on? Were we both on creepers? We might have. No, I think that night we both just crawled under, and we were doing whatever. I was single digits. I don't remember how old, maybe 8. And he had already told me about when you're trying to break something loose or you're tightening something up, you always want to prepare for it to come loose and eat you up. I don't know if that lingo really makes sense all around the world, but that it's going to injure you. And so I think that's what I was doing. I think I was trying to break something loose or tighten something, came loose, and I really just ripped my flesh wide open. My hands were covered in grease and grime from the exhaust catalytic converter, and the blood was just flowing through it all. And I looked at it, and it was like a moment of a bit of horror, I guess. And then my father told me that, no, son, that's good. You have to mingle your blood with the oil and with the dirt of the vehicle, and that's how you become one with the work you're doing. But that was just a way, and it calmed me. I was like, well, I guess if that's good. Here comes a spring azure right now. He's just flying over my head. I don't know did you see him? I can't see what you all are seeing. He just flew over my head. Wouldn't that be amazing if the spring azure flew back? Again, it's a small, like powdery blue, light blue butterfly. But there was a dragonfly over there as well. I know there's several types of dragonflies. I'm trying to remember the name of that one. But instead of talking about that dragonfly, I'll just kick the table over by accident. Instead of talking about the dragonfly, I will now talk about Smokey, a beautiful, just adorable little Yorkshire Terrier. Smokey A 4-pound Yorkshire Terrier proves that war dogs come in all shapes and sizes. Found in the New Guinea jungle. Now, this is a bit I have to just pipe in here with. A Yorkshire Terrier found in the jungle of New Guinea, I think unlikely. I mean, I don't deny that he was found in the jungle, but this was not an animal living in the jungle. He had escaped someone's ownership during the wartime, and he was now in the jungle. So found in the New Guinea jungle by an American soldier during WW2. Smokey was later sold to another soldier, Corporal William A. Wynn from Cleveland, Ohio. Wynn and Smokey stayed together for the next 2 years of the war, and the little dog survived the heat, limited food rations, typhoons, air raids, combat missions, and even a 30-foot parachute jump. She had her own special parachute. Wynn credits his dog with saving his life by guiding him away from incoming fire on a transport ship. Smokey is also now recognized as the first therapy dog, as she spent many hours both during the war and back home visiting veterans and entertaining them with the varied collection of tricks that Wynn taught her. After the war, Smokey and Wynn made numerous TV appearances together, performing tricks and telling their amazing story. Smokey lived in Cleveland with Wynn and his family until her death in 1957 at age 14. On Veterans Day in 2005, a memorial for Smokey was unveiled in the Rocky Reservation of the Cleveland Metro Parks in Lakewood, Ohio. The statue features the tiny dog sitting inside a combat helmet, smiling her trademark smile. So the statue was actually made from a photograph of the little dog in an American serviceman's combat helmet, cute as can be. And you can find that statue online and find out more about little Smokey. And of course, all three dogs that we'll be talking about today, Sergeant Stubby, Smokey, and in a moment, we'll be talking about Nemo, finally a dog that's a little bigger, associated more with combat, a German Shepherd, a wonderful beast, a German Shepherd. And there goes, I think that was a red admiral, another type of butterfly in this area, the red admiral. Flying by. We'll see. We'll keep the state butterfly is a tiger swallowtail. So it would be really lucky if we could have a tiger swallowtail fly by, maybe land on my shoulder, just for the purpose. Hint, hint to nature. Hint, hint. bring in something lovely. Not a bird that would maybe necessarily defecate, but. All right, let's see who is here. I think I saw Piers Taylor is here, maybe. Go by. So did we get anybody's favorite dogs, favorite breed of dog? If you could buy a dog today, if you have no dog, if you could have a dog, what would it be? Now, let me just say this to you. Don't get an animal, any animal. Of course, today we're focused on man's best friend. But don't get any animal if you can't spend the right time that the animal deserves. So it's better to, if you want to participate in the care of animals, then you can do like I do. And, pardon me, the various agencies that take care of orphaned animals, lost animals, and the like, you can give to them. Now, here's what I suggest when you give to them, what I do. You don't want to just give money to them, because that is how you end up getting fleeced. You don't know where the money is going. You can't be certain about it. Sometimes organizations start out legit, but then they go bad. So, they get somebody in there who is, who begins, peculating, and the money disappears. The animals don't get what they deserve. It's the same that holds true with, of course, human beings, charities that serve human beings. So instead, when it comes to animals, you can't really do this with people very much. Oh, my Lord, what was that? I think it might have been a turkey vulture. Bring them food. These places, you can call ahead and you can say, hey, do you take food? Do you take medicine for the animals you take care of? And go on and just buy a bag of food and drop it off with them. Then you know that the person who wants to make a payment on their Mercedes is not going to be able to do it with the food, right? So that's the best thing you could do. That's what I recommend, and that's what I've done. Really cheap, for example, to go to one of these places, you can go out and buy Timothy hay. And there are several types of animals that eat that kind of hay, including rabbits and the like. Here's another spring azure. You'd think I was producing them here. And that can be a way you take care. But if you're just if you could have the dog of your choice, just in pure imagination, you're not going to actually go get the dog. What would that dog be? Are you one of these people that want one of those Great Danes that are the size of a pony? Are you one of these people that would want a little Yorkshire Terrier? Are you one of these people who would want a big muscled Rottweiler? How about a super intelligent poodle? What would you have if you could have any dog? And do you have, Sloth says Jack Russell Terrier. That's what he would have. And then we have Andrew saying a Belgian Shepherd. Yes, very smart. Both of them, wonderful animals. Every dog, Mark Freeman says, every dog deserves a little boy. Well, isn't that wonderful to say? Yes, indeed. White Calling says Welsh Corgis are based. They are cool. Western Renaissance says a Pit Bull Terrier would be the one that he likes. Fornelia says a Rat Terrier. Yeah, so we have a lot of good choices here. Golden Retriever by Austin or White Lab. Both are really marvelous animals. Very good with children and friendly and smart. Dachshund, Biospirit of the West. Yes. Dachshunds are wonderful little dogs. I totally agree. They are fantastic. Now, I will tell you a funny story. In the U.S., and you all can look this up if you don't believe me, because many won't believe this. But in the U.S., several years ago, there was a story of, two cardinals just flew by, I think is what they were. Actually, you know what? They were I only got a glimpse. I think they were thrashers. I think that's what they're called. They're monomorphic. So the male and female are just about identical. But they have really long legs, and they hunt for insects along the ground like robins. So they're wonderful birds. But so where was I? What was I talking about? Does anybody remember what I was talking about? That really startled me a bit. Huskies. I'll remember it in a minute. White Rider says Huskies, love them. I've never had a dog. I've always had cats, but I tend to favor cats, he says. Cats are great, too. A lot of people like cats. Now that there was a cardinal. Akitas, extremely loyal. Yeah, they are. The Dotson story. Bros and Bros helped me out there. Thank you very much, brother. Crazy story. I guess I'm trying to push it out of my mind because it's so crazy. It's a bit macabre, but we are talking about. Well, I know. I guess it's going the other direction, but the dogs being loyal and wonderful. There was a morbidly obese woman, and I know this is hard to believe, in the United States. There was a morbidly obese woman, white woman, morbidly obese. And she was killed. She was killed. So it's a terrible thing that she was killed. That's not funny. Terrible thing that she was killed, and certainly for her family. And this was years ago, though. And she was killed by Dachshunds. Not kidding. Not kidding. I think it was like maybe I think they captured and euthanized They actually referred to it as a pack of Dachshunds, and they captured the pack. There might have been 9 or I don't know how many, something like that, and they euthanized them. And the interview of the vets that had to, working for the county, that had to put down these little Dachshunds. I mean, Dachshunds. She had to confirm, because the news agency said, they were like, "No, is it true that these were Dachshunds? It was a dog pack of Dachshunds, wild Dachshunds in America, and they killed a woman." And she yes, they were Dachshunds. They look like Dachshunds, and we did the DNA, and they're Dachshunds. So yeah, imagine that. I think, in all seriousness, I could probably take on maybe like 300 or 400 Dachshunds, and I would probably survive. So, because I mean, I could just punt them. I could just drop kick them, a bunch of wild Dachshunds, and it would just have to be pure fatigue. I mean, maybe like 500 Dachshunds would be able to finally defeat No White Guilt. It would be a hell of a battle all the way to the end. It would be Dachshunds hanging off of my arms and neck and torso and legs, and I would still be kicking them and chucking them and biting them back. It's a true story. But yeah, Dachshunds, killed by Dachshunds. You normally hear different types of breeds taking humans down. Very rarely the little and loving, those faces on Dachshunds. Oh my gosh. They look up at you with those beautiful big eyes of theirs, beautiful big brown eyes, and they've got that perfect little body to just tunnel in beside you. Yeah, wonderful animals. Jim says, "What the hell, man? Rabid? No, they weren't rabid. Dachshunds. And they weren't rabid. But if 300 or 400 rabid ones attacked me, I still would be able to. I think it would have to take 500. I think it would be 500 that would be able to pull me down. 450, 499, that wouldn't be enough. It would be the one that made the number 500 that would finally, I would be too fatigued to fight on, and I would cave. Dachshund apocalypse. They were. How did she die? Oh my God. When I received that story and I had to look into it, I thought, this can't be true. I was laughing the entire time. No way that you could be killed by Dachshund. First of all, no way there could be a wild pack of them in America or anywhere. How could they live? But apparently they did. Do you imagine? Getting taken down. I guess she tripped. I have no idea. But trying to run away. I don't know. But it just shows that the canine heart is as ferocious as a T-Rex, even when it's in a little body. Nancy Drew is with us, coming in right at the moment that we're talking about a pack of Dachshunds, about 9 of them, killing a morbidly obese woman. They were wild, and in America several years ago, and it's a true story, believe it or not. It was even being reported, and I saw it reported in Germany, and because nobody can believe it. You got to be kidding. There's no way there are Dachshunds that took down a human being, but yes, indeed. How long would that take? How long would it take to finally? Bass guitarist is here. Great to see you, brother. How long would it take to finally kill you? All right, DJ is here. That could not have been a well-bred German Shepherd for Cornelius. So Wolf, I don't know about this stuff about these people. They get into these things and it gets popular for a while, and then in the United States it became popular for a while, at least in the South, where people were getting wolves And then there were several people who got mauled by their wolves, and they are not, they are wolves. And then they would have these, some people, they thought they were going to, I hedge my bets. I'll get one that's half dog, half wolf. And still not good, not good. I had an aunt with one of those, and she had for many years, and then had to, I think, yeah, had to give it to somebody with a massive property somewhere in another, maybe even out Midwest, I can't remember. And just to get rid of the thing, it was becoming quite dangerous. Rabbits, Jennifer says she loves rabbits. I love rabbits too. What's your favorite kind of rabbit, Jennifer? Mine is a Netherlands dwarf, I think. Heidi says, don't get pooped on. I'm trying not to. I mean, as you can see, we got this birdhouse here, and this particular house is being lived in right now by Carolina wrens, and I'm really surprised. I thought they would make an appearance, but they're probably freaking out. I don't know, because I'm never sitting here. But I'm hoping that some of these butterflies, there are a lot of them, cabbage whites and spring azures primarily, that are flying by. Intellectual Embargo says a standard schnauzer. Yeah, another great dog. Wonderful. As Westman, we absolutely feel a harmony with wildlife, with our pets. And this is what you see in Prometheus Rising. I write that into the story, that we have this harmony with nature and both the environment itself, but also the animals that live in the environment. Prometheus Healing said Jason's dad was cool. Well, thank you for that. He was an extraordinarily tough man, and very smart, taught lessons, most of the lessons without speaking. It was a very unique way to learn, but he did speak at times, and like when teaching lessons, and that was an example of one. Ever heard the story of Thomas Cochrane leading his men back into a ship about to self-destruct to save a puppy? I have not. Promethean promulgation. But that's the kind of bond we have, yes. I think I have told you all before that I was with, I had a picture on my desk of Ripley, and one of my coworkers came in, and he was asking, I got to remember to look at the camera to be able to look at you all. But I had gone for a walk up on, it's called Skyline Drive here in Virginia. Gorgeous. They almost used the valley. The guy who made Lord of the Rings said he considered the valley in Virginia for some of the footage for Hobbiton and that sort of thing. But then had decided not to use it because there were too many roads and farms that he would have to digitally remove. And so it gives you an idea of how beautiful it can be. And there is a spot called, what is it, Ravens Overlook or something like this. And you can go out there and you can watch ravens, which of course you just imagine like a crow, but bigger, much bigger. And they will do tricks in the air. It's amazing. Just for fun, because they're such intelligent animals. I mean, nobody has taught them to do the tricks, but they'll fly out, they'll carry a stick and drop it and then let it fall, and then they'll missile down and snatch it out of the air. It's amazing. But I was out there with Ripley, and we saw a black bear, male, I believe a male black bear. There's a goldfinch right there, right in front of us. There's a goldfinch right now. I wish I could. Come over here, buddy. Male goldfinch. If you don't know what they look like, they are electric yellow, gold, and black. They are really gorgeous, the males. What what a beauty that one is. Wow. Look at him. Just like in a moment, he flew. He's so gold, even though he is 40, 50 feet up in a Virginia pine. I can see him. And there goes another male goldfinch running him off because they can sometimes be a little territorial. So that's what happens. So we saw a male black bear, and male black bears are the only ones documented to hunt human beings. And anyhow, I made the very dumb decision, just shorten up that part of the story, to run after it, to try to get a photograph of it, because he was so big, and it was a very up-close sighting. Anyhow, the guy that I was talking to about this at my work, my colleague, said, well, what if it had turned around, and then your dog would be there, and the dog and the bear would end up getting into a fight, and you'd lose your dog. And I said, oh no, I wouldn't be losing my dog, because there would be an article in the newspaper, or how did I say it? Something like this. Like 2 weeks later, a man and dog found dead, because I would hand fight that bear with my dog. There's no way. I would get on top of that bear with a headlock, and I would put him right into a choker hold and try to, I don't know, I would finish me off, but there'd be no way I'd allow him to kill my dog. So yeah, we love our pets and dogs. Hail to horses, says Elaine Sabatino. Indeed, there are some wonderful stories about horses in warfare, and maybe we'll review that at some point in the future, and all of the different wonderful things, the different ways that horses have participated. And this is the thing that I find fascinating, and we'll get on to our last story, and before maybe hearing a little bit more from you before wrapping up. I don't know, how long have we been going? But I've got to get back to work on iteration 2, second edition. Got a lot of other things to do for White Wellbeing that we need to be making happen here. So, but I will tell one story that I know from back in the day, reading and learning all about the War for Southern Independence, about a horse. Of course, you had Traveler, which was General Robert E. Lee's horse, and everybody knew Traveler was this amazing animal. But again, on both sides of that conflict, I'm a very proud Southerner, but that disagreement, that past conflict is no conflict that is going to be preserved with my brothers and sisters who live north of the Mason-Dixon line, and even including Maryland, of course. But I don't hold anything against them. They're my brothers and sisters, just like anybody else. Having said that, there's the story I'm going to share with you was a story of a horse, and I wish I could remember who was what general, or I don't know, was he a general? Anyhow, he was a Confederate officer of some rank. Had a horse throughout the war, and he charged into battle. As you know, or maybe you don't know, during the War for Southern Independence, the Confederate generals and commanders of various stripes, they almost universally led from the front. Lee, being an older man, did not ride up at the very front line. I don't know if he would have even been able, but so they almost universally were up front. So this horse, the horses can sense, and people who are really close and deal with horses all the time, it's like dogs. There's enough of a bond there that they can really sense the danger. They can really sense that warfare is happening. They can really sense and see the fighting, and participate. There are all these tales about the horses kicking enemy combatants and this sort of thing. And anyhow, so this horse had charged into conflict many times and had survived many times, but his master did not. Eventually, this Confederate leader was shot off of his horse and died. The horse was returned to his home, and it might have been North Carolina, maybe South Carolina. If somebody knows the story, they can correct me. To his now widow, and the horse was on the property. As you may or may not know, the United States was brutalized the South after the South lost its war for independence. And it was called Reconstruction. White people were denied the right to vote, and the vote was given to everybody but white people. And it was really a horrible time, at least ask CNN. Maybe I'm wrong about all of that. But this is what some historians have said. Maybe others say something different. You can look into it for yourself. Hear the voices on the other side. But the United States military showed up, and they saw this beautiful stallion in the back on this property. And so this, I don't know what he was, what rank he was. He was an officer of some high rank in the United States. This is after the war now. And he showed up and he saw this beautiful stallion, and he was just going to take it. And that's just the reality of what was happening then. And of course, again, I mentioned yesterday, your horse was your life. So that if you stole someone's horse, the punishment was execution. So it's not even like your car. If you steal your car, you could take your whole house. Take it. The penalty is not execution. It was execution for that because you needed a horse to live. In almost all cases. So this was the horse at this house with this widow, and this filthy piece of garbage from the United States military showed up, and he just told her, he said, "I'm taking it. No compensation. I'm just taking your horse." So he walked out back to get this horse, and when the horse saw him, the horse charged and trampled him to death. And the only thing that makes any sense about the horse doing that is that the horse identified the uniform as the enemy. So when the horse saw that uniform that it had charged into combat so many times against, it charged again. And even without, or maybe his master was on his back yet again, and in ghost form, and rode him to one more contest in that war, even though it was long past. Jennifer says she has silver fox rabbits. I don't know if I've seen those before. If I have, I didn't know. Oh, you know what? Actually, maybe I do know what those are. Yes. DJ says rabbit stew he loves. Well, this is a different kind of love. Heidi says, if one lands on you, I will laugh so hard. Bird poop. Oh, well, great. I'll laugh too if bird poop lands on me. I thought about that when I came out here. Ahoy to Ionash. Little Red says, a baby black bear bumped its nose against my basement window one afternoon with its mum and sibling right behind. Now, that's a little bit of a scary scenario because female bears can be quite dangerous when they have cubs. So you want to watch out for that. All right, let's jump on over to, and we will get any of your, and then maybe, I don't know, should I tell the story of Ripley protecting me? If most of you have heard it before, I won't. But let's get to our final story today. On Memorial Day 2001, remembering not only and saluting not only our brothers and sisters of Western kind, but also our canine companions, man's best friend. And now we're going to talk about Nemo. In 1966, a German Shepherd dog named Nemo and his handler, Airman Second Class Robert Thornburg, both survived gunshot wounds while fighting in Vietnam. A bullet hit Nemo in the muzzle, but the brave dog stayed strong and charged 4 gunmen, giving Thornburg, who was shot in the shoulder, enough time to call for reinforcements. Thornburg and Nemo both survived, but Nemo's right eye had to be removed. Nemo was sent back to Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas, where he had been trained to recover under the care of the base's veterinarians. Nemo lived out the rest of his life in Lackland in his own special kennel and served as an inspiration for countless handlers in training. Sadly, Nemo was one of only 200 of the 4,000 dogs who served in the Vietnam War that returned home after the war ended. Some of the surviving dogs who did not return were euthanized or left in Vietnam, despite the protests of their handlers. The handlers and other veterans continued to fight for the rights of war dogs, pushing for legislation to create a program for their adoption. President Clinton signed that legislation into law in 2000, ensuring the dogs now serving in the U.S. military will have a home when they have finished their battlefield jobs. What a great story that is of Nemo, the German Shepherd, a absolutely gorgeous animal here. And Sentry Dog Nemo, A534, it says on the sign behind him, for December 1966, Sentry Dog Nemo. Engage the enemy during an attack, and then the dog is in front of the rest of the sign there. But marvelous, marvelous animal. What a great story that is. The dog actually shot in the face, and it charged the North Viet Cong, 4 of them, to attack them, even though the dog was shot in the face, so that his master could make a call for reinforcements, a master who was also shot and wounded by the North Viet Cong. What a great champion. And we remember Nemo today on this Memorial Day for his service to us and our people in that combat role, in that capacity. And of course, as a loving companion and inspiration for many years afterward, even though he was one eye short of the ones he was born with. So what a great story. Yeah, yes, indeed, Brad. Hail Nemo, Sergeant Stubby, and our beautiful little Smokey, the Yorkshire Terrier. The bird song seems to be picking up as we're getting ready to maybe wrap up. We'll see what you all are saying here. And yeah, so sad that so many of those dogs who served loyally were left behind, euthanized and the like in Vietnam. That's the kind of thing that would not happen if we were in charge of our destiny in the United States. And you know that we were long since no longer in control of our destiny by Vietnam. None of us have been alive since we have been in control of our destiny. So that sort of thing, there would not have needed to be legislation to bring home the dogs who were fighting and dying and attaining glory right by our side. There wouldn't be legislation. It would just be a given. Yeah, the dog that was saving people's lives, the dog that was comforting us, the dog that was finding the landmines, the dog that was sniffing out the enemy, everything. Of course, he's got a seat on the trip back. So much is so wrong in our world. We have no idea what it would be like if we were in charge of our destiny. And that's why we work so vigorously here. We don't just talk about how bad things are or how they got so bad. We work so vigorously at changing the lexicon that people speak with and the dialectics that they use, because we know by changing the conversation, we change the world. And by changing the world, by recapturing our destiny within ourselves first, but generally speaking, throughout our society, by doing that, we don't have to have disgusting stories like this where thousands of dogs who served our people honorably are left behind or euthanized, left to defend for themselves. Could you imagine in the sweltering jungles of Vietnam? Jonash says, have I missed anything important? Got to watch the first hour. Yeah, during the first hour, there was a big fire behind me, and I had to attend to it with a makeshift fire extinguisher that I MacGyvered out of duct tape and a paper clip. So you definitely want to scroll back and catch that. Monica is here. Great to see you, dear sister. Let's see if you all are saying anything else. So I guess I will. Nobody is saying one way or the other. DJ said, did I mention Springer Spaniel? Those are great dogs too. Austin says he can't stand poodles. Can't stand them. Jennifer says she has 3 shepherds, 3 German shepherds. Heidi says border collies are good too. Yes, they are. They absolutely are. So I will briefly just tell you all about, I was at in my apartment. All the lights were off in the apartment. And Heidi says, don't underestimate MacGyver. The meme pathogen in that story that ran the length of the story actually is the exact same meme pathogen. How many out there have seen what was that? What was that? The things that happen when you stream outside. We have a whole family of house finches over at the feeder over there. Can you hear them? It's lovely, isn't it? This is just stunning. It is gorgeous. Something, maybe a rabbit. Maybe that's what that was over there. Maybe that's what that was. I'm still trying to see if, oh, wait a second. You know what? I might be completely wrong. I think that's a bluebird shooting along the ground quickly looking for insects because that's their main diet. So MacGyver, if you have seen the Andy Griffith show, it was back 1960, I think was when it was first introduced, and it had the theme that ran all the way through the entire series was a meme pathogen. So crazy when people say, oh, it didn't get bad until 5 years ago. It didn't get bad. No, I mean, you had 1960. The whole show was based on a meme pathogen. The exact same meme pathogen was used with the MacGyver show. They were a little bit more salient about that meme pathogen on the MacGyver show than they were on the Andy Griffith show, where they lived in Mayberry. Opie and Andy and Aunt Bee lived in Mayberry. And the theme was, firearms are bad. Do not defend yourself. You don't need to. You don't want to have firearms. And the right to self-defense is unnecessary because all you need to do is think your way out of it. And that, of course, is preposterous. So, no, I was wrong 2 times first, but now I'm right. It is a gray catbird. It was a gray catbird all along. Jonas says he has 2 Papillion dogs. Wonderful. Dean Wood says, where are you, Jason? It looks beautiful. I'm in the once great state of Virginia. Once considered a magical place. You can hear the poem that I read about Virginia, and you'll see this is what. Who was it? Was it? I think it was a poet from Georgia who wrote that after visiting Virginia. But used to be globally, Virginia was thought a magical place where liberty came from, because so many of the founding fathers and so many of the most prominent ones and thinkers came from here. Fortunately, there aren't many bugs at the moment. There are lovely song. I can't believe nothing has flown past me or behind me, or maybe if I turn around next time when we get to autumn, maybe I'll sit in the same location, but we'll face, you all will look that way. And then you'll be able to see all of the different wildlife streaking back and forth, threatening my survival. Seven Serpents said that the TV show called MASH had the same self-defense meme pathogen. Self-defense for you white people, it's wrong. That's what the anti-whites are teaching in those programs. So the entire arc of the series, unbelievable. So is anybody else talking about any of the others? Andrew says, missed that pathogen, just learned something new. Yeah, everybody thinks, well, Andy Griffith Show, 1960, black and white, it's so loving, and there you have this colossal meme pathogen right in the center. It's so big you can't even see it because it's taking up the totality of the show. Andy won't carry a gun. He only picked up a gun a couple times. And Barney, his sidekick, who did carry a gun, almost shot himself several times. And he was a goober. He was a weirdo, and he's fidgety. And so that's what you're like if you like self-defense. If you're suave and cool like Andy, well, then you don't need one of those things, to protect yourself. It's wrong. He says, Jonas, it's 21:01 here in Central Europe. The sun has set about 15 minutes ago. Well, it's not so late as we normally keep you up. Promethean Healing says, Appalachia is gorgeous. No, I go, doesn't West Virginia have some of the Appalachian Mountains? Yes, it does. Absolutely. West Virginia is very mountainous. Very mountainous. We have in Northern Virginia, it's actually quite stunning. There's no wonder whatsoever why Thomas Jefferson chose. Well, he was a Virginian, but I mean, where he lived here in Virginia. And you can look, if you look this direction, where it's clear. And here's something else that's great. Well, let me just finish that. You see the Purple Mountains majesty from the song. I mean, that's the Blue Ridge Mountains. Infinitely older than, say, the Rockies, which are much younger, much taller, much more jagged. These are much older, worn down, and maybe a bit more magical because of it. So you look this direction and you see the beautiful Purple Mountain majesty in the clearing. And I was going to say, the sunrises and sunsets here are, I don't know why some places sunrise and sunset can be just phenomenal, and why other places not so much. But it is, they're truly amazing here. If you got a clear sky, they're truly amazing. And of course, here for all of the bad, there's certainly enough bad with weather here. In the middle of the summer, the humidity is unreal. If I set this up, the equipment would all probably break. I don't know, I might survive, but I would break, because I would come out here and I would just be like, sweat would be just pouring down my face, and I would be breathing heavy like the dogs that we're talking about, panting into the microphone. People would think it was some different kind of stream. What is he doing? Why is he breathing so heavy? But today it is just glorious out here. I'm feeling absolutely just rejuvenated and vitalized by the breeze is blowing right now. You can't feel it. I wish you could. On my neck, on my face, on my arms. The air is perfumed with the flowers that are out still. If you could smell that, it is really magical. But I will tell you all very briefly that I was one dog story from me. I was reading in the living room in my apartment. It was late, not super late, but it was late at night. And I was, the only room that was on in the entire apartment was by me on the couch where I was sitting. And all of a sudden, in my Doberman, Ripley was in the bedroom, which was directly in front of me down the hall. And all of a sudden she came trotting out of the bedroom and down the hall toward me, and her head kind of swiveling right and left. And she had a just visceral, demonic sounding, very low pitched, soft, as in not the volume not very high, growl. And it felt like it was just coming out of hell. And when you have a pet, you become acclimated and aware of the different kinds of barks or purrs, or talking about rabbits, teeth gnashing, or whatever it might be. Also the body language. And this was, I could tell that she was beyond angry. And this was not a normal state that she was in. All the way up on her toes, trotting around. She trotted in by me, and the fur just, the hackles rising. And I was like, what is going on? She jogged by me, went to the office, came back out, and the growl getting a little louder. And I was really concerned at first. But then I thought, you know what, I bet that a fox or something like that had passed close enough that its scent had wafted in. But I still, that was kind of unusual for her to get that angry over it. But because I was on the first floor and I had a sliding glass door, and then there was a hill, and then there was a road over here, and then there were banks of trees over this direction, copses of trees. And I decided, well, I'll let her go outside. So I had one of those 20-foot long retractable leashes on the spring, and I hooked it up to, she had a big old pincher collar on her, and I hooked it up to her, and I opened the sliding glass door, and I just jokingly said, "Go get him." And just maybe feeding what she was already feeling. And she took off onto the concrete slab near the patio, put her nose right on the ground, immediately picked up some scent, and then followed that scent to the left and ran out the full 20 feet like that, very angry, pulling with all of her might. And I was really having to lean the other direction. The damn dog was so strong. And she was just pulling in that pincher collar, biting down, and still she was all of her might trying to head that direction out, whatever it was. So I was looking out into the semi-lit area, trying to figure out why is she so angry over a fox or a raccoon or a possum or whatever is making her so angry. And I started calling for her to come back in. And very dark out there. And I don't know why. I just decided at the last minute, and I wasn't able to retract any of the 20 feet yet, but the last minute I thought, well, you know what, I'll just peek around this corner to my right. There was a little part of the building jutted out. That's where my hot water heater and things like that were for that apartment. And then on the other side of it was the windows to my bedroom, and were the windows to my bedroom. And that was like a little corner that was very dark. There was a light out there, really sallow, not very good, but that made that corner even darker. Anyhow, I was able to pull on my dog enough that I was able to kind of inch around, and I got my head around the side there, and squatting in that darkness just a few feet away from me was a non-white guy. And he had on a hoodie, and he had, often hoodies will have, the hood was up, and they have that pocket up front. His right hand was in the pocket. His left hand was on the sill of my window. And sorry to say that I couldn't think of anything really cool to say at that moment, like anything that Clint Eastwood like. I was 100% certain there wasn't going to be anything there. I was maybe just going to see, well, maybe a fox is, or a raccoon is trying to make a house there. Who knows? Make a nest. And so I got my head around the corner, and I saw him. And the only thing that could come out of my mouth, or I could think of, was, "What are you doing?" I said, "What are you doing there?" That's what it was. And he said in this very thick Hispanic accent, waiting for my friend. And he was a bit arrogant, waiting for my friend. And still, I did not know. I had become almost, there we have some beautiful bird song now. I had become almost target fixated on his right hand in that pocket, because I could see the left hand on the windowsill, but I could not see what was in that right hand inside that pocket. And I couldn't see any outlines. It was far too dark. So I couldn't, again, it wasn't about coming up with something really cool to say. But all I said was, you can't wait here. So he stood up and began walking out of that dark area there and toward the hills there that were behind the apartment complex. And he looked over and he saw now for the first time, I assume, my very large and very angry Doberman, who was still trying to go in the other direction. And I think probably what had happened was that was the path he had come in to my window. And so she had gotten onto that trail and just went the wrong direction. And he saw her and she saw him at roughly the same time. And there was a moment there, brothers and sisters, there was a moment where this guy, true to the phrase here in the States, he ran for the hills. And because she turned around and with the speed and agility of a Doberman was coming back this direction, flying with all teeth bared and a steady, loud, no barking. This dog was not trying to scare anything. She was trying to kill. She was trying to maim. She wanted to get at him. And I ran toward her. There was maybe a half a second or less. These things happen so quickly, where the thought actually went through my mind. Let her get him. Let her get him just a little bit. Let her get this guy who is trying to break into my apartment. Let her get him just a little bit. And but I thought better of it. My humanity, I guess, and of course the potential ramification. I don't know. So I ended up running toward kind of the midway point between the two of them, so that I could retract as much of that leash, shortening it, so that I could prevent her from getting him. And he's really lucky that I did that, because I was able to shorten the leash enough so that she just was unable to get him, and it would not have been good for him. I don't know. He was probably 150 pounds, and from what I could tell, maybe 150 pounds. Pretty short. And I apologize if you can hear the airplane that's going overhead now. But and she was 90 pounds of solid muscle, no fat, and big, long, sharp teeth. It just would not have been good for him. So I got her to come back inside, and I called the police. The police came out, and I told them I was living in Maryland at the time, and I told them that I was angry, because I was thinking, if I didn't have the dog and this guy had broken in without realizing I was there, maybe just thinking that one light was on to make it look like somebody was there, would I have been a murder victim? I don't know what that guy, did he have a gun? Did he have, I don't know. I don't know what he had. So I was pretty damn angry at that point. And I told the cops, I said, I just should have let my dog get him. And the police officer, both of whom were good old boys, the guy said, not here, you shouldn't. Not in Maryland. In Virginia, you can. But in Maryland, he can sue the hell out of you if your pet harms him for merely breaking into your home. I don't know what it's like now in Maryland, if that's still the way it is. So if you are a proud citizen of the once great state of Maryland, then maybe the law has changed. Maybe that officer was even wrong. This is what he told me. So good thing I did not let her get him, especially if she had ended up getting him in a way that he wasn't going to get away ever again. But the punchline to the story was that this absolute dumbass was attempting to break into an apartment at a window that had a sign in the window that the words were in English, but that picture was or the drawing there was universal, and it said warning, property protected by guard dog or something of this nature. But the drawing on that sign was the most impossibly ferocious Doberman that you can imagine. The thing, it was like a saber-toothed tiger with fangs on it. And yet this idiot was going to go in that window. And yeah, we found evidence that he was trying to work his way into the window. And that's ultimately, she was in there. She had smelled him, maybe heard something. And she was ready to go to war for me. And I love her dearly. She was quite a champion, my dear Ripley. Alex has said a few things, and then we'll be getting out of here shortly. And we have some people sharing some temperatures for all of those who, all of us, some have Fahrenheit, some have Celsius, so you can know how glorious it is here. I think it's about 75 Fahrenheit here. And the humidity level, I think that's the same, right? Everywhere with a hygrometer. We all use the same measurement for humidity. So I think it's about 50. It's only about 50%. For right now in Northern Virginia, across the river from Mordor, it is Washington, D.C. This is magnificent. I mean, this is definitely vernal weather, and very happy to enjoy it with you all. So 75 Fahrenheit though. And listen, Miss Just Horse, 79 where she is. So wonderful there. 73 in Minneapolis. 79 in Oregon. Beautiful. Fantastic. We are all having wonderful weather. Elaine says, I love the little butterfly dogs. Jonash says, he appreciates us being on earlier. The Watcher says, he's talking about the original Nick Jr., I guess. Oh, yeah, Nickelodeon, full of mean pathogens. Absolutely revolting. Absolutely revolting. There was, with that Nickelodeon garbage, in Northern Virginia, we have a mall, an indoor mall, like every 5 miles. It's so many people and so much wealth. There's a little yellow. That's a butterfly. It's little and it's yellow, and its name is Little Yellow. So they were very creative when they came up with that name. But that's what he's called. And so there's a mall every 5 miles, it seems. And you would always see when you go to the mall, any of them, you would see the little packs of young girls, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 range. They would go to the mall, parents drop them off, or I guess all the way maybe up to 16 driving age. And there'd be these little groups of young girls, 3, 4, 5, 8 even. And they'd just walk through the malls, giggling and shopping and looking at things, having a good time. Nickelodeon began this campaign. These anti-whites over at that channel began this campaign of always pairing the little groups of girls with non-white males. And so there would be a little group of girls, and there would be a non-white male or 2 non-white males, same age group, or maybe a year or 2 older. Every single show, everywhere you looked, it was just they put it everywhere. And within a year and a half of that suddenly being ubiquitous on their shows, it became ubiquitous in reality. I had never seen, and it would have been the most incongruous thing for a white boy, for a white young child to be in the group of girls, but to suddenly see non-white little boys with every single group of little girls. The little girls are so keyed into what they believe is fashionable, what they believe is society is looking for, to think they're cool and think they're with it, or think, and that's why it's so easy to sell new trends to women, very difficult to sell new trends to men. Just ask any firearms dealer. He could try for a decade, trying a new trend, or tools with guys, try a new trend with tools, and they can spend 2 decades trying to introduce something else. Females, it's every season, every goddamn season. It's like, well, it's spring now. Now you have to have all of this. It's summer now. Now you have to have it. And they're just like, yes, just spin, spin, spin. And they go out and buy it. So the little girls, they just like this, have to have a non-white male or two in your group to be with it, to be fashionable, to be. And so I would go to the malls, and it was a night and day scenario. I was complaining. I was giving talks on this sort of thing to peers, and saying that this is intentional. This is not a reflection of society. This is something they're pushing, and you don't see it anywhere. And I underestimated how quickly they would have success, the anti-whites, with that. I thought it would take much longer, because it's so incongruous. A little group of girls picking, okay, this boy or that boy is going to be with us when we go hang out and act like little girls. And suddenly there they were, overnight. And now it's still the case, because the anti-whites are still pushing it. You could head to every single mall within a 30-minute radius of here, and there are a ton of them. You could head to every single one, and at every single one, you will find these clumps of white girls walking around with 1 or 2 non-white males, and it just looks like the weirdest impossible thing. Like I don't know, what do they call alligators? Of like a pod of alligators sunning themselves on the bank of a river with swans. It's just, you're like, what? They don't. This doesn't make sense. But it only makes sense because these girls are being brainwashed. That doesn't mean that there can't be friendships. Of course, there can be natural friendships that come about just naturally. But this omnipresent, and this need to have it is essentially to have the non-white males present is like having the latest handbag, having the latest. That's how a female mind seems to be processing it. Well, it's de rigueur. You need to have. TV tells me that it's cool for it to be done, and so then they end up having them. There goes another dragonfly. What is that called? I think it's. Oh, come on over here, buddy. What is he called? What is that? Oh, I think it's called a blue corporal. I think that's what he's called, a blue corporal. Come on over here. Come on and give a land, and we'll put you on a live stream. So no, after sharing that, we'll see what you all have to say. If there's anything left, any questions or any ask me anythings, and then I'm going to get back to work. I have to clean all of this up. Who's going to help me? I know the dragonfly is not. He took off. And then we will just remember our dogs today as well. And gliding through. Have a great rest of your day as well, ladies and gentlemen. Alex says, entertainment in the 60s was filled with mean pathogens. Lots of shows tried to guilt trip the white population, so white guilt them, about the battles with the Amerindians in the Westerns. Oh my God, it's atrocious. Yeah, brother, 100%. I've seen it. It's just unreal. The American Indians, Amerindians, they were always these portrayed as these defenseless, totally innocent, totally peaceful. All they want to do is be your buddy. And an evil white man comes along, and it's just disgusting. And that's what people end up thinking is reality now. Their entertainment. Remember why that is. That's why we go free. We have taught you all exactly why that is. Many shows also promoted so-called feminism, anti-whiteism. That's a subset. Feminism is a subset of the superset that is anti-whiteism. Alex goes on, I've pointed these things out to my parents every time they watch their old entertainment. Entertainment for well over 50 years has weaponized against our... More than that, brother. More than that. I've gone back even older movies with some of the older guys that say, well, no, there wasn't anything anti-white in those movies. And I'd say, okay, well, name one. And we'll go watch it. And then I'll watch it and I'll come back and tell you. And I watch it, and within the first 5, 10, 15 minutes, the MPs start showing up. It's just the nature of the human animal to think that the past was better, or was not better, was perfect or nearly perfect. It's another artifact of the grass is greener. So the grass is greener when it's space, but also the grass is greener when it's time. Nancy says, would you get another dog? Great question. And Shauna Shaw says it's 64 where she is and raining. Well, the rain can be wonderful too. And 64, a little cold for the rain. But I don't know, not too cold. I mean, you can kiss in the rain at 64 degrees, can't you? Would I get another dog? Maybe. Not right now. I'm way too busy. to I don't have the time to spend the appropriate time with the animal. But I could see it as a possibility in the future. It just, after Ripley passed away, I was so crushed. There was just not going to be another dog in my life at that time. Azimuth Clark is here. Great to see you. 66, where he is in the once great state of Pennsylvania. Let's see. Elaine Sabatino. Papillions are beautiful dogs. Yes, they are. Albert says, I'm from a country where Africans make up 0.1% of the population. But when I went to the mall and looked at posters, you might think they are at least not a 30%. Yeah. So they make up let me see where I lost you there. 0.1%. And he says, you go to the mall, and because of the posters, the advertisements, you think they make up 30%. The United States is so ridiculous in this exact same manner. The black population, I understand, is roughly 12, 13% of the United States. But you would absolutely think that we live in a Afro-Caribbean country. And all of the advertisements, almost every single commercial, almost every single television show, every single movie, everywhere, all the time. Yeah, you would think that you were looking at around like 70, 80% of the population. And what does that mean for us? And why would that? Good for them. Good for the folks who are able to get ahead and make grand money for being a pretender, an actor, or a model. They make great money. Good for them, and that they're doing well. How it intersects with us is that it does not reflect our biospirit. We do not feel harmony. I do not live in Sudan because that does not reflect my biospirit. The anti-whites are making my environment one in which biospiritually I am incompatible, and that creates a disharmony in me. It creates white noir in me, and makes me less able to succeed. And the same, wow, the butterfly just flew over the camera. Makes harms us in a great many ways that we don't have the time here to, since we're getting near the end, to talk about. But it also affects our people in other ways. There are a great many white actors, white models, etc., that are not getting hired, that have put in the time, paid their dues. Sometimes their dues not only was the training and for the education, also the money they had to pay for all of that training, the massive debt that is costs of that training for education that have just gone through the roof because the government has been backing up all of the education loans. They've paid all those dues. Sometimes they pay their dues sexually on the casting couches and everything else, and they're not getting any of those jobs so that they can be given to others. So in a great many ways, it's discriminatory, it persecutes, and it insidiously inflicts psychological damage on our people, on our children, on ourselves, on our adults, on our elderly. That's how we should always look at it. And as I say that right as a beautiful male goldfinch lands on a shepherd hook very close by, that's how we should look at it. I'm definitely not angry with black people or any non-white people for taking advantage of an opportunity that they get. I mean, boy, wouldn't it be nice to live in a society that hates itself and will bend over backwards to give you preferential treatment and special privileges on the basis of your race, not your skin color, but on the basis of your race, your biospirit, on the basis of you being a different race, having a different biospirit. Just you're going to get preferential treatment and special privileges, that they will discriminate against their own kind. That sounds like quite a great place to live. The evidence of that is that they keep pouring in. They keep pouring into our countries. Why? Because our countries are not what the anti-white narrative says, that they're just this hostile place that just persecutes and harms and relentlessly is hunting down. I mean, give me a break. If you're a black guy today, if you put in this much effort, you are infinitely more likely to get paid six figures modeling or acting or at the accounting firm or at whatever it might be than I am. Infinitely more likely. I and all the other white guys like me, we are infinitely more likely to be rejected, to be turned down, to not get hired, to not get into the school, to not get the promotion, to not get the raise, to not, etc. Because if you're going to give things away, you have to discriminate. There's not an infinite number of things, and there's only one group that it is ethically, morally, and legally acceptable to discriminate against, and that's white people, particularly white males. I've had everything that I and so many other white males, everything that we have worked for in our lives, stolen from us. We're not able to support families. We're not able to be the man of the house that we worked to be, that we trained to be, that we put in the effort to be. We are not able to get the recognition for our efforts, the respect for our efforts, school, at work, in the community, as community leaders. We're not able to be any of those things anymore. And there are a great many of us who are very angry about that. And I hope that we can reach those people, because I know their suffering, their anguish, their struggles personally. It's an endless soul wounding pain to want to be what you have worked to be and do, and be denied it because of your race. That's what happens here across the West, and it is Western kind that's suffering. And I absolutely will not ever play this anti-white game. They're not going to gaslight me. I will not play this anti-white game, suffering my whole life from this, having other people get the raises and the promotions that I deserve, because not only non-white, but female I mean, we're only just beginning to see white females get discriminated against. Very rare. White females were used against Western kind, and they happily took the raises and the promotions and the power, and they happily did it. And look at where, not everyone, but most, and look at where we are today because of it. Sloth says, thanks, brother. You're most welcome. Jonas says you should definitely do more streams outside. I don't know. I keep getting distracted by all of the wildlife. There was actually a butterfly fly while I was talking just moments ago, and spice bush, and that's maybe my very favorite butterfly. Okay, Albert says in Eastern Europe they brought construction workers from Asia, while Eastern Europeans work in the West away from their families. Oh, that's unbelievable. That's terrible. It says the salaries of the Asians are subsidized by the state. That's why, Albert, I doubt that there are not Westmen in Eastern Europe that can do and would happily do these jobs. So this is just I'm sure a MP that you all have been infected with there that says, well, everybody has gone to other European countries and to the United States to work, and so therefore we have to bring. I mean, come on. The reason why they're bringing in non-white people is because the anti-whites in your governments are going to use your tax dollars to subsidize them, and that ends up being the business model for those who own those companies. It's a perfect scenario for them. They don't have to. Who are they going to hire then? If the government is going to pay for your employee, if he's Asian, or half of his payment, if he's Asian, non-white, of any type, are you as an employer going to hire the Asian and pay half, or are you going to hire the Estonian and pay full price? The government is subsidizing anti-whiteism there. So don't buy their lies that our people have gone away and there's nobody who will do the work. We need to remember that across Western civilization, teenagers did all of these works, all of these jobs that they now say that there's nobody to do. No, the teenagers are still there, and they could still do these jobs. And we have all the protections in place so they can't get abused. Elaine says they were doing this when I was a kid, but they were more subtle. Yeah, the MPs from different decades, they look a little bit different, but it's all anything that undermines, is insidious, harms Western kind is an MP. Andrew says advertising rapidly becoming like that here in Sweden too. Almost only non-whites. I mean, can you believe that? Of course you can, because the anti-whites are bastards. Could you putting in people's faces something that makes them feel incongruous in their own lives, like they are out of place in their own life? That is despicable. Sloth says, how great would it be to have calls with people in the garden? That would be something. We're not set up to be able to do that, but maybe this coming autumn, there's not going to be another time. I'm telling you what, you do not want to see this guy in the sweltering heat index 105, 110, soaking my shirt. You don't want to see that. This is not a wet t-shirt competition that you would want to watch. All right, folks. Well, we have had a grand time together. Happy Memorial Day to all of you. It's been just lovely being able to meet with you all out here in the garden. It is truly gorgeous today. I can't believe how wonderful it is. and it's made infinitely better by being able to be with all of you, my dear brothers and sisters in service to White Wellbeing. Maybe we'll go with the regular show outro. Happy Memorial Day, Bartleby and everyone else. Yes, a melting Jason is not a good one. It's not a good one. I could be out here if we could set up like a little tent and it's raining. I'm okay with rain as long as it's not holy water. Cheers to you, biospirit of the West. Thank you so much for being here with me. Happy Memorial Day. Daniel has some sort of jet, probably rich people, streaking overhead, goes by. I'll pan around the garden and see if I can see anything else. Plenty of butterflies visited us today, dragonflies, a couple of birds. Saw a robin just a little while ago. We had the catbird, we had the brown thrasher that came by, cabbage whites, spring azures. What else did we see? I saw turtle dove. I didn't mention the goldfinches. It's really wonderful. And if you could just smell the redolence out here, it is remarkable. So what a lovely time we were able to spend together. Andrew, thank you so much. Jennifer, a happy Memorial Day to you all. Please have a great day today. I am going to put my nose to the grindstone. Odin, Sire, positive and uplifting stream. Love the outdoors. Well, thank you so much. Spirit Wolf, thank you for your service, Jason. You're most welcome. And I thank all of you for all that you're doing in service to White Wellbeing. Enjoy the rest of the day. Make the most of it. Make good memories, because that's all we have. You want to make sure, reach out to those people who are close to you. If you haven't, you don't normally tell them that you love them, tell them you love them today. Surprise them. Tell them you love them. Write a little note that says, I love you. Give them a hug, a surprise hug, and say, just because. And make those memories. Make sure that you'll have the opportunity in the future to sit down and think about your life and reflect on the previous year or years. You want to be able to recall that moment when she was standing at the sink, and you hadn't given her a hug in weeks, maybe months, maybe years, or he was standing at the cabinets in the same thing, or whatever it might be. And you can recall that moment that you walked up and just gave a big hug and said, I love you, thank you. And I love all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here today with me on this glorious Memorial Day in the garden. And roll out.